Hey guys, Boomfish TCG here, back at it again with another video. This time we're continuing with our sword craft class, and in this instance we're going to be taking a look at Wasteland Sword. Um, Probably a deck that people aren't too amped to be playing for this format, but pretty much any sword player has this in their pocket, and if you want to play this at a tournament, if you want to play it at a store, I highly encourage it. In fact, I think even though that it has some matchups that it truly doesn't perform well at, like let's say Kagro or stuff like that, certainly not a bad deck. Certainly has some solid tools. And for this updated list, you're going to see some decent changes. So, yeah, let's take a look. To start off, as usual, we're going to be taking a look at the one drops. So here, we are going to start off with Radical Gunslinger. So it was a staple back then, it's still a staple now. Comes out and summons a dutiful steed, which is a resource that you take advantage of throughout the game. It's not as important in like Vincent that it is, but it basically feeds into its own synergy. So uh, you can tap this card and two mounted cards on the field, select an enemy leader or follower, and deal it 2 damage. If you're playing against a slower deck, face damage is incredible. If you're playing against a faster deck and you need some removal, I mean, this card has it. So certainly, certainly not that bad. And that's why it's at 3. We have Rivulian Bandit, a very okay card. Has an easy condition to get the effect that you care about, where if it gains any stats, it gets Storm. So an easy 1-drop to play and then also hit face. Its Evo is pretty decent, where if you have the condition that you're looking for, which is multiple mounts on field or in your EX, you can select an enemy follower and ping it for 2, which is very good. You get the stat bonus, and usually that means at this point you would crack whatever. You can crack the bike, the car, or the steed and give it some stats and get a little bit of extra value out of it when you're pressuring your opponent. But it's not so good that like it doesn't benefit from itself, right? If you have multiple copies of this in your hand, you're actually quite sad. So easily understandable why this is at 2. It's just not that good, but it is not a bad card. You have another just standard 1-drop for Wasteland strategies, Quixotic Adventure, where on entry it creates a dutiful steed in the EX. Notably a lot worse than putting it on the field, but the stats are aggressive, so because it's generic, it couldn't be that unbalanced, right? Like imagine if it was a 1-drop that turned into a 3/2 for free. That's a little bit much. You do not play the Evo for it. I'll flash it on the screen for you guys, but it was kind of outdated at this point in the meta. Like originally you played it because, like, sure, you didn't have necessarily the space for a bunch of other Evos, so it was kind of filler, and you cut it when you eventually found better options, so it makes sense. And also it's quite expensive to Evo, so don't feel too inclined to do it yourself. You have the Nahtnaught Henchman. Basically, this is a 1-mana 2/2 base form. Okay, so if you're playing it early, don't feel too bad. But if you play it late game, or if you combo it with the card we'll cover later, Nahtnaught, which you might already be familiar with, this thing both decreases its cost when it's put into the EX, and then also if Nahtnaught's on the field, you draw a card. Very good. And probably my favorite thing about the Wasteland Sword strategy is this little free engine that you can create, where like Nahtnaught's already good enough by itself, and getting the board presence is really cool, I'm going to be honest. You have Celia. So Celia is a flip Evo. So by itself, it's a 1-mana 2/2, which at this point is just really good stats. And when you Evo it, so which is either you Evo it for 1 or you Evo it for 4. So to start off, this is the Evo for one side. You create a Shield Guardian token, which is a 1/1 with Ward. So it helps you with your Ralmia plays. You really enjoy the swarming side of things. And if you flip it, this is the later game aspect of it. It being flexible in this spot is really cool. And the Storm is really nice. And then you also get the extra tokens that aren't as defensive and prone to early game success. Like, these guys have nothing on them, right? It's a 1/1 with no ward, and a 2/2 also with no ward. But at this point in the game, you just more care about swarming, and chances are that's the flavor part about it. You're just getting in for some damage, and by itself, it puts more pressure. So, really quite nice, actually. And the reason is it's at 3. A decent card by itself, and then it has those easy upsides to just be like, yeah, I'm going to do that. This is a turn 1 play, by the way. Bumpkin Recruit is a new guy that is pretty nice, I'm going to be honest. Weak in the stat department, but in any card game, something this cheap to put out that has an upside, there's nothing to complain about here. It's almost like a bell ringer that has better stats, or nice stats, not better, right? It doesn't have ward. But if you get board cleared and you have 2 of these guys on the field, you're perfectly fine with that. And that's going to be happening to you. Your opponent doesn't really have an option. This deck swarms out as easily as it does because, as you can see, you have 19 1-drops in your deck. I mean, this isn't a if this isn't a board tempo slash follower based strategy, I don't know what to say. So having something with that kind of upside of when it dies you draw a card, that's incredible. Go on to the spells that are 1 cost. You can search for a Ralmia. I mean, that's like half of what this deck does, so that's really nice. And then if you want, you can pay 4, search your deck for 2 cards differently named followers that are like Ralmia. So you get both of them and summon them, which is kind of crazy. 4/5, you're summoning two followers that ultimately cost 4 in total. But like, that's pretty nice. They're only playing the one other copy, so like, don't consider that as like something you always want to go for. But the card, this person's only playing 1 copy of it, so something that you don't depend on too often. But if this card's stuck in your hand, you kind of tip in towards the mid game. Yeah, certainly not bad by any aspect. We have the Tyrant's Order, which is another card that has inherent synergy with Nahtnaught. But I'm gonna show you a little bit of secrets with this card. See how it says the first effect is select up to 1 boxed follower and destroy it? Period. Or is that a comma? That's a comma. Okay, so destroy it, comma. That first effect is optional, and that does not require a target for you to resolve the last part of the effect. Okay, so consider that completely separate from search your deck for a Wasteland follower, reveal it, add it to your hand. So if you draw this early and you have nothing better to do, search Nahtnaught, search Bunny, search most of your deck. Really cool, really solid, really flexible. This person's probably only playing 2 because they needed to include like other good cards into their deck, so it kind of like ran short. And I get it, right? It's not the most incredible thing in the planet, but 1 mana search your deck, that's still really, really good. So like, even though that he's only playing 2 of it, if you felt justified, 3's perfectly fine. In this instance, they're playing 3 Bunny Baron Spectre duo. This was the second big payoff of playing a Wasteland Sword as a strategy. It has no base effect, but if we take a look at its Evo, so you can either summon the car, which I'll put up on the screen for those who are unfamiliar, or you search your deck for Desperado Shot. In this list, because we've kind of moved out of the Wasteland format, this deck has to do a lot more to compete than playing a ping spell in your deck and planning on evoing Bunny more than once and expecting that to win you the game. In this case, the opponent, or like this person who's playing the Wasteland strategy, simply didn't consider that as an option, right? He's playing 3 to see it, but he's not depending on it. And this really seems to be a Ralmia type deck at this point, where you just focus on swarming, and then you eventually take advantage of that and try and end the game based off of the amount of damage you can push. But certainly not a bad card by itself, because creating the car is just such a high value aspect of what Wasteland Sword does. But the spell's kind of lacking, so I get it. We play Kagemitsu Lost Samurai. So previous Kagemitsu was bad, right? Just bad. Just previous Kagemitsu was just a flunk of a card. That one drop did nothing. But this guy, however, does quite a lot. So whenever a follower on your side of the field evolves, place a fighting spirit counter on this card in your EX. So this is after it dies. If it has at least 2 fighting counters on it, you can summon this. So it's like the first condition of this card can't be played from your EX is something that's not like binding. Eventually it gives you the option to play this, but it originally starts out as a 2 mana 2/2 rush, no effect on it whatsoever, with an upside of if it died. So let's take a look at its Evo. It costs 2 to Evo, so like if you did it outright, but if you have this condition done, it will automatically Evo by itself. So let's take a look. This guy is a 3/3, and as you noticed, or probably at this point keeping track of, so this card both creates the tokens and cares about them, not only for the fact that when you have to, it allows you to do something, but it's a payoff. So every time you Evo, you place one. There's no limit to that. So when you eventually get to do this, you remove a fighting spirit counter from this, select an enemy follower and ping one. That's horrible. But if you get 5, which means it's a real payoff, you deal 5 to each enemy leader and follower and give the storm. That's crazy. So that's the whole reason you're doing this. An ultimate payoff that really helps you end the game. 8 life swing is pretty solid. So go over to Leod. He's been here forever. Consider him a sword family member. This guy's invited to the cookout. Yeah, what's there to say? He does the same thing as every other list. I'm not going to explain him. You already know what he does. But very solid card. It's probably the most annoying card in Wasteland Sword is this one. So it's 2 mana. When it comes out, it spawns a bike. You crack the bike for free, give it rush. And when it dies, you ping them for 2. So all upside, very strong card. Easy 3 of. That's why it's there. And really infuriating to deal with. That ping for 2 is like miles for what they're trying to do. And they keep trying to range you into Ralmias, so like it's hard to compete when that card's so free. Like you try and board clear them, that's fine. They're drawing a card off the 1-drop. They're pinging you in the face for 2. Like there's nothing that they're doing when you board clear them that isn't just annoying. And at this point, they also have a complete endgame piece. So like, yeah, this deck's really annoying. Now we're moving on to some of the new cards, not only for Kagemitsu and this, and the 1-drop here, but the new Ralmia. So this has Storm. If there's 5 followers on the field, you ping 2 to each follower on the field. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Just an alright card. That's why they're only playing it at 1. if you're ahead on board tempo, which you will be playing this deck, um, the board clears nice when you're playing up against other sword strategies. But it's not what you give. This is not what you care about, right? It's okay. You could probably like play this list, play that one cost spell still, and not play this card. But he's playing it for the just in case of 4 mana. You search for two different ones in some of them, so it's okay. But this lady is a problem. Ralmia is a problem. Okay, this was the whole reason Wasteland Sword was so strong when it initially came out, because it set up Ralmia's so easily, where she'd be coming out for free. You Evo her, right? So 2 mana, 3/2, right? So you pay for that aspect of her. But the free part comes in her Evo. You got 3 guys on the field? Fine, Evo for free. You have 2 guys on the field besides her? Fine, if you went second, Evo for free. Gotcha. What else do we got? Her Evo effect. You pay 3, you +1/+1 for every other follower on your field. Doesn't count itself, but it's got Storm. This thing could have 7 attack and you're hitting them. It could have less than that. You could bring it back with Sword Flash Panther, which this deck isn't playing. But there's so many ways to take advantage of the amount of stats that this card generates that it's just such a like it's just not bad, even slightly, which is pretty infuriating, but you can't really stop it. So um yeah, moving on. So for the kind of end game of like or like the higher end cost cards, but not necessarily the end game strategies outside of Nahtnaught. This just helps you get there. Nahtnaught, you box something, so you make a card essentially useless, and you search your deck for a 1 cost card, put in your EX. So you see that there's such a vast majority of your deck being 1 cost. So all of these are options, but most of the time you're grabbing Knott's Henchman, playing it for free when you do this on 4. You have Tyrant's Order. When you do this on 5, you get to pop something, search your deck, really nice. Or now you get Supersonic Breakthrough, you search Ralmia, and now you have a guaranteed endgame. Uh, Really, really cool, actually. I didn't even consider that part of the deck, but certainly not bad, and very, very clean aspect of the deck. Just a hard synergy. Um, but yeah, just a 4 mana 3/5 with a really good secondary effect, really good first effect. It's the whole backbone of what creates Wasteland Sword's real strategy, and something to abuse for sure. It's just fallen off in power a little bit, so not much to say. Amelia is a really cool card that came out from the swimsuit set. So we have, whenever a officer follower is put onto the field, you select an enemy follower, ping it for 3. Decent, certainly an upside. But the 0 mana effect to summon a officer follower from your hand or EX is really cool. It's at 2 because it doesn't do anything by itself. It's like a 2 card combo in order for it to pay off, which it does very easily, but there's limits to it. And yeah, just consider that, right? Like the rest of your deck is so like has very high quality cards that this card gets to abuse, but Amelia is simply going to help you win the game. It's not going to be the reason you did, unless you're summoning a Ralmia and then hitting them in the face, and then I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Um, but yeah. So, and actually, just to put a note in it, Amelia allows you to summon from the EX for its effect. So if you have the counters on Kagemitsu, not only are you summoning it for free, you're evoing it for free, and chances are you're doing a lot more with that. So really cool, actually. So that's Wasteland Sword. Again, it's a little bit weaker than what it was. Still has its struggle matchups, but consider it a very solid strategy. Not the most incredible thing, but the Ralmia searchability with Nahtnaught is really cool. So I'm going to give it a rating of 4 out of 5. I really do like what Wasteland Sword does, but considering what else we have in the meta, it might not be the most incredible thing. So, yeah, that's 4 boomfish out of 5. Thank you for paying attention. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.